A medical marketing agency's purpose has never been more critical for the success of its health clients than it is now. Much of that can be attributed to the major advancements associated with AI. Hello and welcome to the MM+M Agency 100 podcast. I'm executive editor Jack O'Brien. For today's conversation, we're talking with the fine folks at CMI Media Group. Over the past few years, the powerhouse WPP subsidiary has been on the front lines of upgrading its marketing capabilities and offerings as the technology has evolved. At a time when health clients expect so much out of their respective business partners, agencies need to be driving results from their investments in AI. I'm pleased to be joined by CMI Media Group CEO Susan Dorfman and Compas CEO Jim Woodland. Susan and Jim, welcome to the show. How are you both doing today?
Doing great.
Doing great. Great to see you, Jack. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for being on, and congrats again, Jim, on winning the Pinnacle Award recently. That was well deserved. But we're going to start the conversation off in a broader focus here. Susan, when we're preparing for this interview, you had said, quote, AI won't scare us. AI will, quote, scale us. In other words, it's less about the what of AI and more about the how of it. I'm curious if you can explain that concept a little bit for the listener.
Yeah, absolutely. That phrase has become famous, not just across CMI, but also now across clients. Actually started about 2 years ago. We were in a client meeting and we were talking about efficiencies. We were talking about fears and concerns that people have had about AI taking over their jobs. And for us, and frankly, every agency out there, talent is the core to what we do. And we have some amazing talent, and scaling that talent, making sure that every client, every brand always has the A team, the A concepts, the A performance is a really challenging thing to scale, especially when you win a new client and you have to give them that A in everything you do. And AI allows us to do that. It allows us to scale and not fear taking a job and moving it to a machine. It allows people to do really strategic work. It allows them to invest their time in high valued areas. It allows them to check and audit and collaborate with their digital employees to be able to do things better, faster, and for our clients in a much more efficient way. So that is the concept of AI shouldn't scare us and taking our jobs. It will scale us and allow us to be much more effective.
I appreciate you explaining that for the listener. And I want to talk a little bit because I think when people think of AI, they think about future innovation, all this sort of stuff. And I know that you at CMI have done a great job in terms of trying to future proof and look for these kind of future forward initiatives that you can really bring into the agency's fold. Talk a little bit about that. And then, Jim, I'd love to hear your insights on that. But Susan, why don't you start us off there?
Yeah, sure. So we started to use AI probably 10 years ago for audience segmentation work and being able to assess next best action, next best creative, next best channel, but more importantly, who is likely to take the right kind of action. And that predictive capability, predictive analytics, allowed us to make decisions, even make our own investments in ways that resulted in significantly high return on investments and objectives on behalf of our clients. And we've been investing in data, not just AI, not just the technology, but you have to have the data that fuels it and the capabilities, the people that know how to use it. For years, 3 years ago, we decided to invest in agentic capabilities and building out agents to help take activity away from humans, reduce human error, and actually increase speed to market through some of our activation work for media. We've built models that actually evaluate and create media plans and test out human to machine, and made that investment last year to be able to do that and see how do we fare out? How does a machine fare out over human? The most, I think, compelling thing is that technology is changing rapidly. And what you were able to do 2 years ago is nothing compared to what you're able to do today. And it allows people who have ideas, but maybe not have the capability to code, maybe not have the capability to be creative in their own perspective, to actually create, to be creative, to code and actually develop, to do things that we couldn't imagine we would be able to do before. So for us, it's investing early on behalf of our clients, to test, to learn. We don't talk about failure. We don't fail. We always learn and optimize. And then to increase our data flow and data capability and data structure, because that is the core of, for certain types of agentic use cases, but also our APIs, our connectivity to different systems, and the ability to leverage technology capability with AI to be able to do certain types of work and automate.
I really appreciate the insights there. Jim, you want to add in a little bit there?
Sure, I can just, she covered quite a bit there. I think maybe focused on some of the operational elements of that. Like Susan mentioned, we've begun to put this into practice today, and for the last couple of years. And one of the things that it's really doing, like she said, is it's unlocking not just more time for people, but the creativity of our people. Media inherently is a very labor-intensive line of work, and a lot of the work is not necessarily something people are jumping out of their seats to want to come and do every day. And what we've started to target some of those more rote and routine types of tasks and use AI the way that we're able to now, and not just free people's time up, but also bring greater speed, greater accuracy. We live in a regulated space where our clients can't afford mistakes, and humans make mistakes, and systems make them a lot less when managed correctly. And so, in the very first one that we launched was, as Susan mentioned, was in our ad tech area, where we're executing ads on a daily basis. You're talking thousands of campaigns and millions of dollars, and we've been alive with this now for going on 2 years. We've not had a single executional error from the new system that's set up. And I mean, that's just remarkable. And so when you think about working in a regulated environment and being able to bring that sort of accuracy, at the same time that you're reducing cost, you're improving the jobs for the people who are doing the work, and just allowing everyone that's in that to be more strategic, more creative. It's just a win all around, and clients have been really receptive to it.
Yeah, and there's no end to it. There's absolutely no end, from optimizations and recommendations, the kinds of things that machine can pick up and give to a human to be able to assess, rather than have the human actually digging through all of that intelligence, is just remarkable.
And I have a follow-up question for you, Jim. Every agency is different. It's kind of the snowflake effect there, but like CMI Media Group and Compas, you have a different organizational structure. And I'm curious how that helps in terms of being able to actualize some of these concepts and initiatives that you have in motion.
Yeah, I mean, it starts for us with our singular focus on one industry. We've, for 37 years, have served the healthcare industry religiously, and that's brought a ton of expertise, specialization, that allows us to invest in things that will kind of push the industry forward. I think being in this space for as long as we've been in it, being structured as two agencies, Compas specifically, I can talk to. We've, since our inception, have viewed media suppliers as our partners. We treat them like clients. We have an entire division that is dedicated to serving the needs of suppliers in ways that creates more value ultimately for our clients. And that gives us unique access to new opportunities, new technologies, first look at audiences that are being brought and available to reach in unique ways. And that structure is unique. We've not seen it replicated anywhere. There's probably a reason for that. But when you combine that with the scale that we operate at, I hear routinely that we are the medical supplier's best customer. They love working with us because of our knowledge, our thoroughness. We're responsive. We give great feedback, but that feedback comes back to us in the form of great opportunities that our clients are able to take advantage of.
That's a nice superlative to have. As far as superlatives go, it's a pretty good one. I'm also curious too, and Susan, I'll throw this question over to you first. Is I've talked to a lot of agencies over the past couple of years, and for some of them, when it comes to AI, it's dipping their toe in the water for the first time. But you guys were early adopters of agentic AI and being able to bring that into your various workflows. Talk a little bit about what that chronology has been like on your end in terms of being like, oh yeah, like this isn't something that's new to us. It's just, if anything, it's been supercharged and democratized. But what has the experience been like for CMI Media Group?
Yeah, I mean, when we first started to use AI, it was all around predictive capabilities, and predictive analytics, and kind of trying to assess with the data, where do we go next? Where do we invest next? With agentic and Gen AI capabilities, there is just so much that we had wanted to do 3 years ago when we first started to test out and pilot out all of the different capabilities, and also having WPP and WPP Open deep investments in AI at the time, being one of the first, if not the first holding company to invest. It was really about pushing the envelope, learning a lot of things, right? In our heads, everything seemed possible. But when push came to shove, some of our learnings they really weren't at the time. You had to structure your data in a particular way. We were not a creative agency in creating visual effects, but really trying to synthesize different types of data, different types of labels, architecture. So that was a big learning for us in terms of what was possible. We were looking for the brilliance, the effectiveness, the efficiency. But I think what we also started to see was how different people's relationship with LLMs, with different with different tools, not just agentic tools, but different AI tools, how that changed the media landscape, how that changed the hand raiser and the media channels that they're going towards, how that may change those who are living life, and the importance of other channels that have stepped up when they are just living life and are not hand raisers and don't have a medical critical need. So those are the things that we're starting to heavy up on, and really be able to look at it from not just a business effectiveness and efficiency perspective, but very much looking at it from a audience intelligence perspective. How are people changing ways of utilization of media? Because media is everywhere and it is everything. And how do we plan differently? Where do we invest? Where does our first dollar go? What is the incrementality of every dollar invested, not just in media, but in audience and in message? Those three things have to absolutely work together. And when we execute it, how do we do it faster? How do we do it much more efficiently, so it doesn't cost our clients as much, and they can put their media dollars to work for expansion of patient populations and healthcare professionals? And how do we do it with greater effectiveness to meet their needs and meet them where they are?
If I could build on that for a second, Jack, I think within healthcare, I mean, obviously these LLMs that are, call them the general ones, are increasingly extremely powerful. They can answer all sorts of questions. When you get into the type of work that we're dealing with and the unique challenges that a healthcare marketer faces, it's really important that the data sources that are being leveraged and trained on to provide answers, whether it's insights about your audiences or customers, or what is that best next dollar invested in for a return, or what is happening with my campaign. It's important to make sure that the data is trained on the most relevant data, not just everything that's out there. You can get an answer that sounds pretty credible from what's built on everything out there, but I think the expertise that we bring is really important to the healthcare specific use case that we're all chasing right now.
No, absolutely. And it's interesting too, kind of just thinking about it from, you can only do so much inside your organization. That it's how it plays out in the broader ecosystem too. And there's no uniform way of doing things. So I really appreciate the explanation there. Susan, I want to ask you, you've made the point before that leaders, when they think about AI, need to focus more on the I rather than the A. And I think people get all mixed up in that because they focus so much on the machine and the LLM of it all. Talk a little bit more about that concept and being able to ensure that clients, over the next 5 years, are going to be prepared for what's truly next instead of trying to just chase the shiny object in the room.
Yeah, I mean, it's, focusing less on artificial and much more on the intelligence and the eye and the human, especially in healthcare, trying to put our patients first. When you're sick, when someone you love is sick, it's very different than going to the supermarket to buy food or getting a car or getting a dress or getting a shirt, or candy. You're just trying to get back to being yourself. You're scared. You don't have a journey. You have a nightmare in your hands. And um, that's important for us to realize as we are building and designing for humans in need of the I, in need of the individual, in need of information, in need of support, in need of the human touch. So as we start to think about where we need to be and where we need to go, I really want us, at least in our agency, to put the human first and to put our own humanity into everything that we're doing, and to really understand from the patient perspective, from the healthcare professional perspective, what are the needs, what are the tensions, and how can we help? And how do we make it easy? And how do we relieve a lot of the tension that happens when they need us?
You made the comment earlier, Susan, that, and again, this was a fear that happened when ChatGPT first came online. I think it's ebbed and flowed over the past 4 years or so. Is this idea that like AI is going to take people's jobs, is going to replace us, and I think it's still something that's persistent. But you've obviously made the focus on no, this is going to help us do our jobs better. The scare us versus scale us comparison you made earlier. Talk a little bit about the upskilling within your organization because I think that's something that other people can definitely learn from at their own agencies.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to quote, I think Julie mentioned, Jim, I could be not remembering exactly the exact number, but I think 80% of our employee base is using WPP Open for our AI capabilities. That's pretty significant in terms of utilization of AI. Um, it's not just upskilling our people and giving them the opportunity to build agents, to use it for various types of tasks individually, or for us to build enterprise AI solutions. It is also completely reimagining the way that we work. So it's not just reskilling, it is retooling. It
Mhm.
is reimagining. It is completely reassessing our operational model and saying, why are we doing this? We call it kill the stupid. If I'm allowed to say that, kill the stupid, assess what you're doing, look at it in a completely different way, and look at it from our people team perspective, look at it in a transformational way where we are absolutely going to have humans and machines working together. We're going to have digital employees. And they're going to have job descriptions and they're going to use a combination of systems through APIs and modalities to do different things in different ways. And that means reshaping jobs for people, making them more exciting, making them more creative, bringing people entry level, early career starters and giving them things and job descriptions and not tasks, but meaningful work to do that will just be different than it was before. And also for all of us to know that we are training these machines. We are training, it is up to us what tasks are given to our digital employees and being able to train them, coach them, take them from nursery to kindergarten to elementary to high school, college, and post-grad. And that in its own way is part of the reskilling, is helping our people learn how to work best with digital employees. Jim, did I miss anything on that?
No, I mean, I look at this as one of the most exciting times to be employed. I think it's not the people who, you're not going to lose your job to AI. You're going to lose your job if you don't embrace and use AI in your job. And so it's an imperative. Yeah, we all have to step up in our own ways and learn these tools, immerse ourselves. But the potential that it unlocks is virtually unlimited. And I think the has lived through multiple gigantic shifts like this. The U.S. used to be an agrarian economy, then it became an industrial one. It went from an industrial one to an information one, and obviously there's been job change in through those transitions, and we're about to live through another one like that. And yes, it's going to require people to learn new skills and get excited about these things and apply them in their own ways. But for those who do, it's going to be there's so much opportunity, and for those who are scared or concerned about it, it's now's the time to surround yourself with people who can kind of help you through that transition. I know internally we're trying to do that, and give people the tools they need and the exposure they need to get comfortable with this. We're not forcing it, but we're also making it clear that this is where the world's going, and giving them reasons to be excited about it. It's not, like Susan has said multiple times, it's not going to scare. It shouldn't scare you. It should scale you. You should feel confident that you're going to be able to get a lot more done and enjoy your job more. I think that's what I think among all the things that it has the potential to do, it has the potential to truly make work so much more enjoyable, which I think is good for no matter what type of line of work you're in.
Yeah, we always say if we had more time in the day, but why would we want more time in the day? Why can't we say if I only had my digital twin or my triplet or my quadruplet, that would just be so much better because I would be able to balance my time. I would be able to focus on the things that are really important, that are high value, that are critical, that are differentiated, and allow my digital twin, my triplet, to do the other work. So I wouldn't have to look for more time in the day. There would be work-life balance. There would be value, greater value to the client. There would be greatest value to the patients and healthcare professionals. And if we can do that right, and if we can make this world a healthier world, and we all win.
Absolutely. Like you said, it's reframing that, what has been a very persistent anxiety across the workforce. And it sounds like that's taking effect within WPP. I want to ask Susan too about uh, another, I don't even know how you would describe it. Maybe I'll just throw it over to you in terms of what is Empower OS? Like talk about that as a platform, this kind of intelligence hub that you all have stood up.
Yes, it allows us to leverage data and AI and a relational kind of capability, relational system, relational technology that talks to every component, talks to the next and prior, to be able to create human-based plans at an individual one-to-one at scale, to be able to, from insight to plan and war game to activation to optimization and reinvestment, to be able to leverage immense amounts of healthcare data that are proprietary to CMI and WPP, to leverage our clients' data that they have, our partners' data that they have, in a very privacy safe way, to be able to achieve impact, to be able to identify the who, to be able to determine the what, and then to be able to plan the how in an always on, constantly evolving, and optimized ecosystem that is omni-channel, that is never a set it and forget it, and that is budgeted for opportunity. So that is a platform that we have had for many years that has continued to evolve. We're very excited about its newest evolution of that incrementality and first dollar in, with some really advanced AI capabilities behind it.
No, it's exciting. It sounds like it's really got a lot of momentum there, and we'll obviously be curious to see how it all unfolds in the future. You guys have both been great, and I really appreciate the time and insights that you've shared with the listener. We have one final question for you, and Jim, I'll give you the first crack at it, and then Susan, you can take us home. But you have the annual Agility Conference coming up in September. The theme this year is Seen, Heard, Human. you give us a little bit of a sneak peek in what we can expect in terms of programming, talent, any of that sort of stuff?
Sure. I guess what's approved for release right now. You mentioned the tagline for it and the theme. We think there's a lot of room for improvement with how the industry communicates with patients at a more human level. And so a lot of what we're going to be exploring, and we've got a great lineup of speakers, both from our agency and from the outside, to really get at and help us push everything forward. How can we be more empathetic? How can we really get at the human element of healthcare communication and use the tools and technologies and new channels that are available to us to accomplish that? So that's going to kind of be at the core of it. Susan, anything you want to add to that?
You know what? I'm just going to say it's going to be the best yet. Every year we say, this is it, this is the best, this is the best. And every year, I don't know, somehow Amanda and team, our marketing team, just make it better. So I'm just going to say, wait and see. Come join us. And all I can tell you is that it will be incredibly, incredibly human.
Well, that's a good tease for those in our audience. Susan and Jim, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it. Congrats again on being Agency 100 honorees for yet another year in a row. And we'll see you in the future. But this has been a wonderful conversation. I thank our listeners for tuning in as well.
Great. Thanks, Jack.